Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Arabella stared into her eyes, her tone icy and mocking. Your beloved Martha has crossed the line more than once. I still have the video from last time. Should I have her kicked out too? Serena's face turned ashen, her mind flashing back to the time when Martha purposely unscrewed the lid of the olive oil bottle, intending to cause Arabella to slip, only for Arabella to call up the security footage from Overwatch. Back then, Arabella had declared that if she ever caught them playing underhanded tricks behind her back, she would hand over the footage to the police, tell their parents, or upload it online. Arabella had also stated, "If your people try to harm me, do you really think you can escape unscathed? Will our parents believe you or me?" Edith, who was standing nearby, finally understood why Ms. Bella had chosen to hold onto the evidence rather than handing it over to the lady. Ms. Bella had mentioned then that this evidence could merely prove Martha's malicious intentions. If Martha insisted that it was all her idea, and Serena had nothing to do with it, then Serena started using her lifelong bond with their parents to leverage her innocence, or crying in front of the elderly folks at home, or even in front of her brothers. Then, the most that would happen was a servant getting fired. Serena, for the most part, would not be shown the door. At most, she'd face mild punishment. But this piece of evidence, in Ms. Bella's hands, was like a trump card, serving as a warning to them. They would surely make mistakes if they got desperate and tried to pressure Ms. Bella into deleting the footage. And when the mistakes got too big, it would be more than just a case of getting kicked out. Looking back now, Edith couldn't help but admire Ms. Bella's calm and foresight. Just then, two young maids came to Arabella crying, "Miss Bella, Miss Bella." Arabella turned around, noticing their red-rimmed eyes, and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" "They've gone too far." Gloria pointed at Debbie and Daisy, tears streaming down her face. "They ruined all of my clothes because they have Serena and Martha backing them up. Look." The clothes in her hands had been shredded to pieces. This wasn't the first time. "My skincare products that I bought yesterday were thrown into the trash too. I confronted them on WhatsApp, and they admitted it was them. They even asked what I could do about it." Doris showed Arabella the chat history, her face mixed with anger and hurt. Debbie and Daisy didn't expect these two newcomers to have the audacity to complain to Ms. Bella in front of them and were instantly outraged. Now that the evidence is clear, there's nothing else to say. This house doesn't need you two any longer. Hearing Arabella's words, Debbie couldn't help but mimic Edith. "Ms. Bella, the one who pays me is the lady. Unless they tell me to leave, no one can make me step out of this house. That includes you." Serena and Martha were secretly delighted, glad that someone could finally stand up to Arabella. They decided to reward Debbie with an extra drumstick later. "Oh, fine." Arabella pulled out her phone, dialed a number in front of them, and turning on the speaker, "Mom, are you awake?" "Bella dear, I just woke up. What is it you need?" "I want to fire a couple of the staff." "Which two pests have managed to upset you?" Louisa, sensing Arabella's ill temper, immediately shared her lividity. Debbie and Daisy, Arabella stated their names without hesitation. "Did they dare to disrespect you? If so, I won't let them off the hook so easily." Debbie and Daisy, overhearing the conversation, felt a chill run down their spines. Not exactly disrespect, just a propensity for insolence, and they tend to bully the others. "That's outrageous. I pay them a few $1,000s a month, not to act high and mighty, disrupting the harmony of my household. Those two numbskulls won't last long in this line of work." Angry voices echoed from the phone, along with the sound of Louisa rummaging around her room. Where did my slippers go?" It seemed she was about to storm downstairs, likely to confront Debbie and Daisy. The girls panicked, instinctively wanting to flee, but they were blocked by Gloria and Doris. "Mom, don't worry, I can handle this." Arabella eyed Gloria and Doris calmly. "Since you have no objections, I'll proceed with the dismissal." "Absolutely, fire them. I'll have a word with them later." Louisa couldn't find her slippers and muttered to herself, "Bella, remember, you're the apple of your father's and my eye. In this house, you always have the right to fire anyone." Arabella hung up the phone and turned to Debbie and Daisy. Did you hear that? We're sorry, Miss Bella, it was all Martha. Debbie's words were cut off as Martha gave her a harsh twist of the arm. What nonsense are you spouting? Nothing, I didn't say anything. Debbie hung her head. Apologize. Arabella didn't care who started the trouble, and they were all in it together. Debbie and Daisy hastily apologized to her and to Edith, Gloria, and Doris as well. We don't need our salaries for this month, and we'll give it to Gloria and Doris. Please, Miss Bella, plead with Madam not to blacklist us in this industry. We'll change, really. Miss Bella. Arabella pulled her hand away coldly, then turned to Martha, who had no choice but to bow her head and apologize to Arabella, Edith, Gloria, and Doris due to the surveillance. Let's dock Martha's salary for this month as well since she's implicated, Arabella said with a slight smile. Miss Bella, your punishment is fair. Martha had to swallow her pride for the sake of her future. Arabella then turned to Serena. Keep your people in check from now on. Serena was furious but helpless. She had overheard her mother's words on the phone. Her mother had said Arabella was her precious daughter. Arabella always has the right to fire anyone in this house. At that moment, Louisa came downstairs in her slippers. Seeing both her daughters, she couldn't help but ask, "Where are Debbie and Daisy?" "They've just gone to pack their things," Arabella replied calmly. "Are you all right?" Louisa touched Arabella's head, showing her concern. "They didn't lay a hand on you, did they?" Arabella couldn't help but smile at the thought of those two trying to hit her. "No." Arabella chuckled. "That's it then." Louisa snapped, her anger bubbling over. "They dare to bully my daughter in my house. Gloria, where is Eric? Fetch him for me at once. Right away." Upon hearing the summons, Eric hurried over. When he saw both Martha and Serena standing off to the side, their expressions clearly disturbed, he turned to Louisa. Her face was etched with a deep annoyance. "Madam, what seemed to be the problem?" "Set up a higher requirement when you are hiring in the future. Don't let just anyone in." Louisa chided. "Bella came back home after such hardship. Kenneth and I couldn't bear to raise our voices at her. But these two servants dare to show attitude in front of my daughter." Eric glanced at Arabella and then at the servants behind her. It couldn't be Edith and her group, could it? Surely not Martha? He looked at Martha, who shook her head slightly. Eric let out a silent sigh of relief. "Madam, I am unsure which two servants have upset Miss Bella. I shall take care of them immediately. By the time you do that, the fried chicken will have gone cold. I don't even know how you manage this household. If that happened again, you won't be managing anything." Hearing this, Eric quickly lowered his head. "Madam, I apologize. I assure you that will not happen again. Later, you are to call a meeting. Make sure everyone knew their place. If anyone is unhappy, they can pack their bags and leave immediately." "Yes, madam." Eric maintained his bow, surprised at the intensity of Louisa's anger. "I will go and settle this. Bella, you go and have breakfast. Don't be upset. I will make sure they pay." "Mom, don't let this upset you." "My sweet child, you are so wronged but still worry about me." Louisa's heart ached even more at Arabella's words. Seeing her storm off, Martha helped Serena back to her room. Both of them were furious. That damned Arabella was getting more and more in the way. "Martha, did you hear? Mom said that Arabella is her precious daughter." Serena balled her fists in frustration. Her mother was supposed to be fair, but it was clear where her favoritism lay. "That was exactly why I told you to use Clark's card and buy more things. If the love is gone, at least the money is still there." Serena finally understood Martha's intentions. Martha was the only one who truly cared for her in this house, more than her own mother ever did. Arabella is spending more and more time with the lady of the house. It's only natural that she would favor her. After all, she is their real daughter. Martha's words felt like a knife to Serena's heart. But the brothers haven't spent much time with Arabella. "Serena, you need to seize this opportunity. Play the affection card and get the brothers to buy things. Soon, when Clark wakes up, go find him. Martha whispered something else into Serena's ear. Meanwhile, Edith and Gloria couldn't stop thanking Arabella. Arabella replied quietly, "There's no need to thank me. It's my fault that you were treated poorly." "Miss Bella, I'm not upset. Seeing Debbie and Daisy leave, I feel so relieved, so happy." Gloria couldn't help but break into a smile. Doris also laughed. "This is the first time I've seen the lady of the house get so angry. It shows how important Miss Bella is to her. I'm envious of your bond with her. I lost my mother when I was very young." Her expression darkened. Gloria added, "After this incident, I don't think Martha will dare to step out of line. Miss Bella, we were lucky you were here today." "Yeah, otherwise Martha would be walking around like she owns the place," Edith chuckled. "Miss Bella, I can't thank you enough." "Don't mention it," Arabella responded as she heard someone call her. "Bella, you're up early today?" The man descending the stairs was Clark. He vividly remembered seeing the light from Bella's room still on at 1 a.m. last night. He was surprised she was up so early today. "I just couldn't sleep," Arabella replied, looking up at him. "Did you sleep well, Clark?" "I couldn't at first, but the scent of that essential oil you gave me helped me drift off," Clark admitted, still baffled by the experience. It had been a while since he'd slept so soundly. Upon hearing this, Gloria's interest was piqued. "What kind of essential oil was that? Sounds really useful. I want one too." Arabella noticed the envy in Gloria's eyes. "Would you like one? I can get it for you later." "Oh, thank you, Miss Bella." Gloria couldn't contain her excitement. "All present get one," Arabella added, looking at the other two ladies nearby. Edith and Doris brightened up instantly. Did that mean they would get one too? "Miss Bella, you're so kind." Why was there such a huge difference between rich young ladies? Serena had received the best education and had always been immersed in the finest family atmosphere. Yet, why did her manners fall short? Then there was Bella, who, despite growing up in adversity, had awe-inspiring skills. The gap between individuals was indeed vast. "Have you had breakfast?" Clark asked, hooking his arm around his sister as they walked. "Any news?" "A bit," Arabella responded, keeping her voice low due to the presence of the house help around. Clark turned to the house help. "You may all go." "Yes, sir." As Gloria left, she couldn't help but comment, "Clark and Miss Bella have such a strong bond. Even after all these years apart, their sibling love is still." She didn't finish her sentence as she noticed Serena and Martha standing on the winding staircase, causing her to lose her words. Martha glared at her fiercely as if she wished to mince her. Gloria hurriedly left, cursing her bad luck for running into them again. With Doris and Edith gone, only Serena and Martha remained on the staircase, both wearing grim expressions. "These blind fools, thinking they're something special, daring to gossip behind our backs." Serena's mind echoed Gloria's words. The sight of Clark cozying up with Arabella, whispering to her, caused Serena's hand to clench into a fist. How did Arabella manage to do this? With the dining area cleared by Clark, Arabella finally spoke. "My people checked the flight records to Iridia over the past year. There's no exit record for Carol." "So, Carol could still be in the country?" Clark's excitement was palpable. "There are 3 possibilities. She's still here, she went to Iridia, but her exit record was erased, or she went to another country. If she changed her name midway, that could complicate things further. Given the extensive time frame, finding her would be like finding a needle in a haystack." The light in Clark's eyes dimmed instantly. Yeah, if she chose to hide or if she was being held against her will. Clark couldn't bear to continue that line of thought. However, there is indeed a record of her parents leaving the country about 2 or 3 months ago. Upon hearing Arabella's words, Clark immediately asked, "Where did they go?" "Lidaria." Upon hearing this, Clark was uncertain whether to worry or panic. If Carol isn't in Lidaria, then their trip is in vain. Not to mention, they had never left their small town for most of their lives. Now they were in a foreign country, far away, and completely unfamiliar. "I have asked people to check their whereabouts. I believe there will be news soon. Arabella saw that Clark was in a bad mood and whispered, "This matter can't be rushed. There are too many situations involved. You should eat and drink now, and save more energy." Upon hearing his sister's comforting words, Clark couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart. He wasn't sure if he'd ever see Carol again. But seeing his sister this understanding and adorable, his heart still warmed up, feeling all fuzzy. Having a sister felt so good. Why hadn't he felt this with Serena before? Don't run yourself ragged, eat something first. Clark never thought that his anchor would be his sister now. Looking at her calm and wise face, it felt as if she could hold up the sky if it were to fall. It was oddly reassuring. Arabella even picked up his fork and served him some dishes. After Clark had eaten, Arabella whispered, "I'm going to visit Villa Cascada." There were still 4 unidentified people locked up there. Just as Clark was about to say he'd accompany her, a voice rang out. "Clark." Serena ran over. Seeing Arabella, she greeted her with a sweet smile as if nothing had happened that morning. "Clark, I need to talk to you." Arabella glanced at Clark. "I'll be going first." "Hold on." Clark really wanted to go with her, but Serena quickly grabbed his arm, asking with a grin, "Clark, I've been waiting for you all morning. I have something to tell you." Seeing Arabella's retreating figure, Clark could only say, "What was that? Tell me." "I've been a bit busy these past few days, haven't had time to be with you," Clark said guiltily. Then, turning to the girl beside him, he suddenly remembered something. "Oh right, did you go shopping last night?" Serena had been beating around the bush, wondering how to start the conversation, but Clark took the initiative to ask. She was secretly delighted but kept a poker face. "Yes, Martha went with me. I had something urgent last night. Didn't mean to stand you up," Clark explained. Then, turning to his sister, he asked caringly, "Did you find something you liked?" "Yes," Serena said happily. "There are so many new arrivals this season. They're so pretty, I couldn't resist and go a little overboard." She playfully stuck her tongue out as she said this, showing off her mischievous side. Clark was quick to ask, "How much did you spend?" "I'll transfer the money to you." "No need for that, Clark. You work so hard, I couldn't possibly spend your money. I have my own." Serena tried her best to come off as understanding. But Clark, being the caring brother he was, insisted, "I promised to reimburse you." "How much did you spend?" "Don't worry, just tell me." Serena playfully grinned, "I'm not telling you. You're still a student, and I'm already earning money. I should have been the one to take you shopping last night, but something came up." Clark felt guilty about bailing on his sister the previous night. "If you don't tell me, I'll ask Martha." "No, don't ask her." Serena quickly tightened her grip on Clark's arm. "Clark, you really don't need to pay. I'm not here to get reimbursed. I just wanted to tell you that I've already bought everyone's Christmas presents, and you'll be thrilled with yours. But I can't disclose anything now. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to get me a gift." "Why not?" Clark asked, puzzled. "Because over the years, you've bought me so many things. Maybe you can buy more for Bella now." Seeing the innocent sparkle in her eyes, Clark softened. "That's impossible. I couldn't leave out either of you. You're both my sisters." Just then, Martha was passing through the garden. Clark called out to her, "Martha, come over here." Martha looked utterly confused. "Last night you went shopping with Serena. How much did she spend?" Serena hurriedly signaled Martha with her eyes not to say anything. Clark noticed Serena's gesture and was touched by her consideration. "Serena, you bought so much stuff for the madam, your brother, and Miss Bella. I reckon there's not much left in your account." Since Clark asked, "Should I tell him?" Martha's tone was cautious, as if seeking Serena's approval. Serena anxiously signaled Martha again with her eyes not to say anything. Clark pressed on, "Don't worry, just tell me. How much did she spend?" "Serena, don't be mad at me." Since Clark asked. "It was 2.6 million. Martha finally blurted out. "Martha." Serena immediately let go of Clark's arm. "Why did you tell him? Didn't you promise to keep it a secret last night?" Martha sympathetically said, "Clark won't blame you. You didn't waste money. Most of the stuff you bought was for them. You didn't buy much for yourself." Martha was lying though, as Serena had bought 90% of the things for herself. "But you shouldn't have told him. Don't you realize Clark will reimburse me?" Serena was still anxious. Martha was surprised. "What? He's reimbursing you?" Clark pulled out his phone, logged into his mobile bank, and transferred $3 million to Serena's account. "You've done enough, buying so much for the family. Buy something for yourself with the rest," Clark gently suggested. Upon hearing a notification on her phone, Serena saw an incoming transfer of $3 million and immediately panicked. "Clark, why did you transfer so much to me? I don't want it. I can afford it. Just take it without worry." Clark patted her head, his voice even softer. "I owe you an apology, Serena. Something came up last night, and I had to leave hastily. I didn't mean to stand you up. You've got to understand, and I never intended to leave you behind to go out with Bella." "Clark, it's not a big deal. I'm sure you and Bella had something important to take care of. I'm 18, not a clueless 8-year-old. You're making it sound like I'm petty." "Of course not. My sister is the most understanding. You bought so many gifts for the family in one go. How does that make you petty?" Clark smiled warmly, then asked, "Is your vacation over? Are you going back to school?" "Yes, this afternoon." In fact, Serena was feeling a bit sad. She didn't want to leave her home and her family. But she wasn't like Arabella, the perfect student who could skip school and wander around. She feared that the bond she had painstakingly built with her family over the past few days would fade over time. "I've got some other things to take care of in the next few days, Serena. Once I'm done, I'll take you and Bella out. You can think about where you'd like to go and give me some suggestions." Clark said gently, "Okay." The thought of Clark taking her out made her heart flutter with joy. "Clark, I have to go back to school this afternoon. Honestly, I'm going to miss you. Once I leave, it will be a few days before I can come home." She held onto Clark like a little girl, holding him tight. The light in Clark's eyes softened even more. "No matter when you come back, I'll always be here. We have plenty of time together. No need to rush." Clark looked at the girl in front of him and swore, "Whenever I'm free, I'll be there for you wherever you want to go." "Clark, you're the best." Serena beamed a sugar-sweet smile. "Martha, when you pack Serena's bags later, ensure you include plenty of snacks. Our Serena's quite the foodie." "That's not true." Serena pouted. After their walk, Serena returned to her room, and Martha found an excuse to join her. "Martha, do you think it's wrong of me to feel this way? Clark clearly sees me as his sister, but I—" Serena didn't finish her sentence before Martha cut her off. "He might see you as a sister now, but that may change in the future." Martha's words were like a dagger piercing through the warm bubble that had just formed in Serena's heart. "Didn't I tell you? As time goes on, they'll grow closer to Arabella, and their bond will strengthen. But you'll feel more and more like an outsider. You saw what happened today, and even the servants don't respect you." Serena felt a twinge of pain. "But I still feel bad about deceiving Clark. I only spent $1.3 million, but you said it was $2.6 million. That was double the amount. Clark's not short of money. You saw how he gave you $3 million without batting an eye. You can buy so many things with that much in your account. The best houses in Summerfield cost about $20,000 per square foot. With $3 million, she could buy a large house. It might not be as grand as the Reflections villa, but it would be her own property under her own name. If every brother gifted you $3 million every now and then, along with the fortune from the old lady, how many houses you reckon you could buy in a year? Who needs love when you can have property?" Serena looked down, remaining silent. "Serena, next thing we should do." Martha whispered in Serena's ear, plotting something. Meanwhile, Arabella arrived at Villa Cascada, where Jack reported, "Boss, those guys from last night woke up, but they're not spilling a word. Tough nuts to crack." "No worries, no rush. I need to visit the lab first. Watching her leave, Jack thought, how cool she looked when she's in business mode. Arabella got back to analyzing the powder from yesterday, feeling like she'd missed something. As she was busy, her phone vibrated. It was a call from Crystal Temple. Crystal. Arabella paused, puzzled. Arabella dear, where are you? I'm at Reflections Villa. Crystal's voice came over the phone. The servants said you left early this morning. Are you out having fun? Can I join you? I'm out with a friend. Oh, alright. When will you be back? Probably not anytime soon. Clark is also not at home. Can you finish your work by lunchtime? We could have lunch together. I heard Summerfield has this beautiful cave restaurant that everyone's raving about. Crystal wanted to bond with her future sister-in-law, but also because she found Arabella's cold demeanor comfortable. However, Arabella politely declined the invitation after realizing Clark's intentions, saying, maybe not at lunch. I'll treat you another day. Oh, I can't let you pay. Let's plan another day to check out that restaurant, and I won't bother you and your friend anymore. Crystal chatted a bit more before hanging up. Looking at the beautiful garden of Reflections Villa, Crystal felt a bit bored since Mr. Collins and Mrs. Collins were not at home. At that moment, Serena called out softly, Crystal. Serena dear, Crystal greeted her with a friendly smile. Are you here for Clark? He's out and there's no one else at home. Would you like to go out for a bit, maybe grab lunch? Serena thought that it would be good to bond with Crystal in case she became her future sister-in-law. Having one more friend was always better than having one more enemy. But Crystal laughed, maybe another day. I just remembered I have something to take care of. I'll be going now. Serena felt awkward but still managed to smile. Alright, we'll plan for another day. After Crystal left, Martha couldn't help but comment, she clearly doesn't want to bond with you. She was all over Arabella earlier and even asked her out for lunch. But the moment you mention it, she suddenly has something to do. Who is she fooling? Serena didn't expect Crystal to be so calculating, only wanting to bond with Arabella. After all, you're just an adopted daughter. Martha added fuel to the fire. Serena, do you see the difference now? The biological child was always favored. An adopted child was still an outsider in this family. Back at Villa Cascada, Arabella's experiment was still not completed. Hearing that Clark had arrived, she turned to see a tall figure standing in the doorway. Clark, you're here. This was Clark's first time seeing his sister Arabella, dressed in a lab coat. I'm not interrupting anything, am one? No, Arabella motioned to a chair close by with her eyes. Sit for a while, and I'm almost done. Stepping in, Clark surveyed the lab. It was filled with advanced medical equipment, some of which he had been hoping to get hold of but couldn't find anywhere. He hadn't expected his sister to have such a vast collection. Just this one lab, he guessed, must have cost at least $1 million. He had heard from Jack earlier that this entire floor housed 11 labs. Sitting down, Clark quietly watched his sister, her face concentrated. She looked radiant under the sunlight, as if a painting had been brought to life. He couldn't resist taking out his phone for a picture, but he didn't share it with his brothers out of respect for Arabella's privacy in her lab. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Boss, the results from Phase 3 of the P project are ready. The person who entered, also dressed in a lab coat, paused when she saw Clark sitting there. Why was there a man in the boss's lab? Could he be the boss's boyfriend? Yes. Before leaving, he took another look at Clark. He was so handsome, and the boss sure had good taste. Half an hour later, Arabella's face looked rather grim. Clark couldn't help but ask, what's wrong? Clark, we've made an unsettling discovery. Arabella stared at the data, her voice serious. Our previous hypothesis might be wrong. Clark's heart clenched. Which hypothesis? We thought that the powder we found in Carol's vitamin C bottle was a potent poison, possibly used by someone to harm Carol, or perhaps used by Carol herself for self-protection. That's a possibility. If that's the case, she must have suffered so much for the past year. Clark's heart sank as if it had fallen into an icy cave. No, it couldn't be true. His Carol was too kind-hearted to endure such agony. Those people called her a traitor, right? Could this be a way to punish her? Clark hadn't thought about this possibility, but hearing Arabella's words, it seemed highly likely. Bella, I need to find her. Clark was desperate. I need to find her soon. Clark finally understood why Arabella looked so grim. You're suggesting that Carol might have been poisoned, and without an antidote, she had to use this deadly poison to neutralize the poison in her system? That's a possibility. Clark hadn't thought about this possibility, but hearing Arabella's words, it seemed highly likely. Bella, I need to find her. Clark was desperate. I need to find her soon. I know, it's just a suspicion of mine. Don't worry just yet, Arabella genuinely said. I've already sent people to look for her. We haven't found her yet, but we could try contacting her parents first. Perhaps her parents knew what was going on. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to Lidaria now. Clark was genuinely anxious to find the girl. The thought of Carol possibly being poisoned, relying on a different poison to delay its effects, made his heart ache as if he were suffocating. Just then, Jack knocked on the door. Boss, there's news. Mr. and Mrs. Earwood have run out of money. They're teaching foreign language to a family in Lidaria. I've sent the address to your phone. Good, Arabella calmly ordered. Prepare the private jet. Clark and I are going over. Clark was surprised. You have a private jet? Upon hearing this, Jack interjected. Boss, you can't leave the country. Have you forgotten about those factions from before? Arabella's stern gaze silenced him, and Jack quickly changed his approach. I think it's best for you to stay within the country. There's a lot that needs your attention. Clark sensed something was off. What do you mean by those factions? Why can't Bella leave the country? Is she in danger if she does? Jack was caught off guard, and after a pause he bluffed. What I meant was, remember when the boss went to Carol's house and some people got away? What if they bring reinforcements and set a trap for the boss in Lidaria? The boss doesn't have any support there, and it's too dangerous. Shut up. Arabella was annoyed by his rambling. Boss. Arabella raised her stern gaze again, and Jack had no choice but to silently retreat. Bella, send me the address. I can go alone. Clark was aware of the danger. You should stay safe here. If anything happens to you, I will never forgive myself. Jack is just a worrier. Ignore him. Let's go back to Reflections Villa and pack some light luggage. We might be gone for a couple of days. Despite having a change of clothes on her private jet, Clark didn't. Bella, listen to me. Clark was truly reluctant to let her take this risk, especially since he had finally found such a caring sister. Clark, there's no room for negotiation in this. Arabella thought to herself that she could protect Clark if she went with him. If Clark went alone, that's when the real danger would arise. She would have to rescue him if he was captured, which would be even more troublesome. Seeing his sister's resolution, Clark hesitated. Bella. Let's go back to Reflections Villa first. Arabella didn't want to discuss it any further. Seeing his sister's stubborn face, Clark finally relented. Promise me, Bella. If there's any danger and I tell you to run, you have to listen. All right. Even if she had to run, she would take Clark with her. No going back on your word, Clark added. Of course, no going back. On their way back to Reflections Villa, Clark received a few WhatsApp messages. It was Serena. Clark, I've decided. Let's head to Iridia this weekend. We can check in at the famous scenic spots and visit Disneyland. Pretending to be understanding, Serena added, Bella probably didn't have many opportunities to go to places like that growing up. It could leave her with some nice memories.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.